We welcome you, Eagles fans, from wherever you are around the world to the NovaCare Complex. Our training camp coverage presented by DraftKings begins right now. I'm Eagles insider Dave Spadaro, along with Fran Duffy. And Fran, it's finally here after this long, tumultuous offseason. Nick Sirianni, the era has begun.
A lot of changes, but a lot of excitement. Obviously a new era here in Philadelphia, and I'm excited just to see what this team looks like. Obviously, so much discussion about what the roster will look like on both sides of the football. We're not going to get all the answers over the next 4 weeks, but we'll get a little peek of what's to come.
Yeah, we got a lot going on here. We're going to bring live practice to you as we go through this training camp period. Of course, there are two public practices on August 8th and August 22nd at Lincoln Financial Field. The cost is $10 per person, and you want to get a glimpse of what this team is all about, please do so. All of the proceeds going to Eagles Autism Foundation. This is all about change, and there's one of the new players, Fran. We'll talk about him at length. The Eagles over the weekend agreeing to terms and then signing cornerback Steven Nelson to a one-year deal, a seventh-year NFL player who's been a starter in Kansas City, a starter in Pittsburgh, and Nick Sirianni, Jonathan Gannon. Hey, Jonathan, we got you some help here. And I find it really interesting, Fran, and I've written about this, the new players coming in, the Eagles adding on short-term deals, low-risk, high-reward deals, veterans to come in and fill some gaps. Steven Nelson among them.
Yeah, one of those guys that certainly kind of fits that competitive atmosphere that the Eagles are trying to foster here. Nelson is a fun player to watch. Obviously, the Eagles played the Steelers last year, so I did a pretty deep study on him back last fall. Really competitive corner. He's been a good corner in the NFL for a handful of years now, and he's got inside-outside versatility, which once again is kind of a hallmark of that Eagles secondary. Guys that can play both inside and outside. Nelson is another guy that checks that box.
And then here we go. All eyes on number one, Jalen Hurts, the presumptive leader in the quarterback competition. But, Fran, and everybody out there, understand this. Nick Sirianni not handing a job to anybody. So this has been deemed an open competition with Hurts, Joe Flacco, Nick Mullins, an experienced quarterback who comes in to fill out that quarterback room. I really think this, Fran, we've been here for a long time. And through the Carson Wentz era, and you get Nick Foles, you go back Donovan McNabb, Michael Vick, Jeff Garcia. I mean, all of these, all the way back for me, dating back to Ron Jaworski. Fascinating what's happening at the quarterback position.
Yeah, there's always something to talk about, and I think with Jalen, excited to see him in year two. Yet another offensive system for him to get accustomed to. You go back to his early days in college, it seemed like every year he was dealing with a new system, and he's going to have to learn once again what's going on with this new system here with both Nick Sirianni and Shane Steichen, the offensive coordinator.
And I think as we go through this training camp period, Fran, there are going to be so many periods of discovery, and one of them is something you just touched on. What will the scheme look like? Joe Flacco, his skill set much different than Jalen Hurts. So how do you incorporate the damage that Hurts can do with his legs into the scheme? And then if you go with Joe Flacco, you're not going to include the read option with Joe Flacco.
Right, and I think to me, like I always reflect back to the segment I did with Coach Sirianni back earlier in the summer where we broke down some film of his days with the Colts and even with the Chargers. And to me, this offense is going to be predicated on getting playmakers the ball. And whether that means Jalen keeping the football or dispersing it to the likes of Devante Smith or Miles Sanders and obviously the group of tight ends, finding ways to get the playmakers the ball in space seems to be one of the hallmarks of this offense.
If you're just joining us, welcome to our training camp coverage presented by DraftKings live at the NovaCare Complex. I'm Eagles insider Dave Spadaro along with Fran Duffy, who brings you the Eye in the Sky podcast, Eagle Eye in the Sky podcast, the Journey to the Draft podcast, our X's and O's expert here on PhiladelphiaEagles.com. And Darius Slay back for his second season with the Eagles at the cornerback position, getting some help when Steven Nelson joined the team over the weekend. Avonte Maddox has a chance to earn some playing time inside at the nickel cornerback position. Zach McPherson, a fourth-round draft pick. Really interesting group on defense. And then another newcomer, Eric Wilson, who Jonathan Gannon has said will get some time at middle linebacker, the Mike position, the weak side position as well. He has an idea of what Gannon wants to run. And, Fran, we don't know that. All we know is that Gannon comes from the likes of Mike Zimmer and that aggressive take the football away defensive philosophy.
Yeah, it's both kind of trees that he comes from the coaching standpoint, whether it was Matt Eberflus over the last few years out in Indianapolis or certainly Mike Zimmer previously with Minnesota. They are defenses that fly to the football. And to me, that's what, when the Eagles made changes on the defensive staff, it's all right, well, everyone wants to wonder, is it going to be 3-4? Is it going to be 4-3? I don't even worry about that in today's NFL. What is the identity? And I think that the identity of this defense, when you look at where Jonathan Gannon has come from, it is about flying to the football, playing with violence at all three levels. I can't wait to see these guys start flying around and how they come together as a unit.
And so we're going to be bringing you this stream, and we hope you join us every day from the NovaCare Complex when the Eagles are practicing. Of course, we invite you to Lincoln Financial Field on August 8th, August 22nd for your up-close and personal view of Eagles training camp in the Nick Sirianni era. The cost is just $10, all proceeds going to Eagles Autism Foundation. Make sure you check it out on PhiladelphiaEagles.com. Get your tickets now. It is a great family fun evening to watch the Philadelphia Eagles as, Fran, we turn the page from a really changing offseason, a very difficult 2020 in every way, a 4-11-1 record. Nobody saw it coming. So in the NFC East, where anything can happen, no repeat winner since 2003, 2004, I guess the question is, why not the Eagles?
No question. And that's what every single team coming into the NFC East every year, you would say, who would have guessed that Washington was going to win a division a year ago? You never know. And that stat that you just named, it's one of my favorite, I guess least favorite stats in all of sports is the fact that it's been a different division winner every single year for, we're going on almost 2 decades now.
So the Eagles have a new head coach, new coaching staff, largely very young coaching staff, Fran. Energetic, very much bouncing off the walls kind of energy from Nick Sirianni, who I did an event with last week, and he talked a little bit about the first time he was a coach. He became a graduate assistant, and he went in for the interview, and he went to the head coach, and he's like, I'm gonna run this kind of offense. This is the kind of offense. And the coach pounds his fist on the table and says, you don't even know the personnel. How can you say that you're going to run that kind of offense? And that's kind of what we're expecting here. As Nick learns the personnel, he and Shane will kind of adjust the X's and O's. And if it's a lot different if you've got Jalen Hurts at quarterback versus Joe Flacco at quarterback. Who are your wide receivers? Of course, all eyes on Devante Smith, the first-round draft pick for the Eagles. But I guess, friend, let's just discuss this. My sense is that in Indianapolis, they didn't take sacks. They didn't turn the football over. They relied on the run game. They certainly hit you with some plays down the field. Maybe more of a pure West Coast offense than what we have seen.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of it's almost what I was saying about the defense, where it's not necessarily, is it 3-4, is it 4-3? It's what's the identity? What are the core philosophies, the core principles that they want to operate with? And to your point too, and I think most people listening to this know, when you look at Indianapolis over the last 3 years, they had 3 different starting quarterbacks each year. So if you go in and say, all right, well, this is our system, this is how we're going to run it, well, all 3 of those guys had different strengths and different weaknesses. So you're going to try and cater to those skill sets. And I think that's the approach, not just at quarterback, but at every single position. Don't try and fit a square peg into a round hole. What is it that a guy can do best? We're going to try and put him in a best situation to do that. And again, let your playmakers make plays.
So the Eagles on the field for the first time here at the NovaCare Complex. As a team, this will be a fairly light practice and a shorter practice than advertised. About an hour and 15 minutes. We'll be here for the first couple of periods prior to the Eagles lining up in formations. There he is, Zach Ertz, back just 40 catches away from establishing an Eagles franchise record for most career receptions. Ertz, by the way, is sporting blonde locks. He's starting over. New year, new Zach
Different
for 2021. Look. So, and I really think, look, I've been answering questions since March. What's going to happen to Zach Ertz? What's going to happen to Zach Ertz? Where's Zach Ertz going to be? Well, he's a Philadelphia Eagle, and the Eagles at tight end have a lot to offer as far as targets for Jalen Hurts. With Ertz, with Goddard, with Richard Rodgers, with some young talent there. This is, again, a position where the Eagles just keep on building and developing, not only for 2021, but for years to come.
So you can see in this picture, you see Joe Flacco, you see Nick Mullins. Right there is the new quarterbacks coach, Brian Johnson. He comes from the University of Florida. What had happened at the University of Florida last year? Kyle Pitts set the world on fire, was a Heisman candidate for what he did as a tight end. This Eagles offensive staff knows how to get the football to the tight end position.
And Pitts, of course, I believe, the fourth overall pick to the Atlanta Falcons. So the Eagles will see in week 1 of the regular season. Miles Sanders back for more. Big playmaker, Fran. And what I think is really, let's talk about running backs here. 17-game schedule. You need 4 of them, right, that you can count on. You need 2 of them on the practice squad. You better be deep at the running back position. And while for fans it doesn't seem like a lot, 16 games to 17 games, what an enormous workload for running backs. And for Miles, it's all been about ability, certainly, but durability more than that. Getting him into the open field in the pass game. Looking forward to seeing how this offense incorporates Miles' explosive skills.
And think about some of his best big plays a year ago. You think about the long touchdown run against Pittsburgh, the long touchdown run against Baltimore. Those were kind of run plays where it's designed to get the running back a free head of steam up to the second level. That's what you want to try and do with Miles Sanders. Get him in open space, whether that's run game or pass game. And one of the things that also stands out to me watching the Colts offense over the years, watching the Chargers offense over the years, and that's where a majority of this offensive staff comes from. They want to get the football to the running back in the passing game. Think of Austin Eckler and Nyheim Hines and all those guys. They want to try and find ways to get their playmakers the ball. We're going to say the same thing. It's going to sound like a broken record, but you're trying to find ways to get Miles Sanders the football in space with a head of steam.
And a weird drop-off, almost kind of a microcosm of the offense last year, the lack of production for Miles in the pass game because he's so good, and he and Carson just not on the same page, the offense out of sync. But we turn the page. We're here. We're live. It's the NovaCare Complex. It's Eagles Training Camp 2021, presented by DraftKings. I'm Eagles insider Dave Spadaro, along with Fran Duffy. And we are just so excited after a long, long offseason to be bringing you pretty much daily coverage of the Philadelphia Eagles from the NovaCare Complex to give you a peek at this football team. Now, we're not going to give away formations, and we're not going to let you let the Atlanta Falcons study the Eagles' tendencies in practice here as they prepare for the opener. But we do want to give you some insight into what is happening with the Philadelphia Eagles. And we'll have updates for you a bit later on any players who are not on the field as far as their physicals, PUP, any COVID-related issues. All of that information is to come as we're going to take a look at somebody who is, you just can't take your eyes off of him. His name is Devante Smith, the first pick for the Philadelphia Eagles in the 2021 NFL Draft. Earnest, he is productive, he is mature, he is excited, he is unflappable. Fran, the question is, as a rookie, is he a number 1 wide receiver?
That's going to be the question. And what I can't wait to see here with Devante Smith is just his usage in camp. And obviously we know that he's going to show up at the catch point. He's just so automatic catching the football. He can line up inside, outside. He's going to be so fun to watch on a daily basis.
Okay, some roster moves for you. Tackle LaRaven Clark and safety Rodney McLeod on the active, physically unable to perform list. Landon Dickerson is on the active non-football injury list. Let's see what we got here. Is that it? Here we go. Andrew Adams, safety. Matt Leo, defensive end. And Alex Singleton on the reserve COVID list. And is that it that I'm seeing?
I believe so.
More. Okay. So there you go. Nothing unexpected there. The COVID list is a bummer, though, for a player like Singleton. For a player like Andrew Adams, so I think they have to be out for 10 days.
So the big thing to remember with the reserve COVID list, is created for a player who either tests positive for COVID-19 or has been in close contact with someone who has tested positive. And so, with the nature of the rules, we're not going to know what that is for each of those players. But just keep in mind that just because they go on the list doesn't mean that they necessarily tested positive. That's for obviously all the listeners.
And certainly for LaRaven Clark coming off an injury, the Eagles understanding that he was hurt last season. Rodney McLeod injured in December, tore that ACL against the New Orleans Saints. And Landon Dickerson, hey, there is no reason to rush Landon Dickerson back to the football field. What you want to do with a talent like that is make sure he is 100% ready to go for 2022. Now, it's not saying he's not going to play in 2021.
Of course.
But for right now, he's somebody that you just bring along very slowly. So those are the injury updates and the COVID updates. We're going to keep you updated, of course, on PhiladelphiaEagles.com. Our social media team is on top of it in that world. And, of course, as we get information here in our daily live stream, we will bring that information to you. I guess for me, Rodney McLeod, kind of, I guess the aim, at least he expressed in the spring, his goal, his confident goal, is to be back for the opener in Atlanta.
Yeah, and I think that would obviously be a huge boost to this Eagles defense, to that secondary. Whenever he has spoken with the media over the course of this offseason, he has said that was the goal and he was on track to meet that. And just because he goes on that list here day one does not mean that he won't meet that goal.
Right. This is our live coverage, exclusive live coverage of the Philadelphia Eagles Training Camp 2021, live from the NovaCare Complex, presented by DraftKings. We thank DraftKings for their great partnership. And I'm an Eagles insider, Dave Spadaro, along with Fran Duffy. It's our first time on the field. We've got fans in the house. Fran, it feels pretty darn normal for late July. It's football season. The fans are here, albeit at a distance. And the Eagles on the practice field for a 1.5 hour, maybe an hour, 15-minute practice. Nick Sirianni's first with the entire team present at training camp. And
Dave, I mean, for people that have not everyone is in the building, but you and I have been in the building, you can kind of feel the juice from the new coaching staff, right? I mean, you can kind of feel the energy, the youthful exuberance from a lot of these guys, some that are returning here to Philadelphia and other guys that are just new, but you could feel that with this new staff.
And we're taking a look at some of the running backs. Kenneth Gainwell. Tell me a little bit about Kenneth Gainwell.
So, obviously, an outstanding pass catcher when he was at Memphis, and he only played as a freshman. He played as a redshirt freshman in 2019, was their leading rusher, ended up being an outstanding pass catcher. I think he caught something around 50 passes as a freshman. He opted out after losing several family members to COVID-19, so he did not play in the 2020 season. He's from Yazoo City, Mississippi, same hometown as Fletcher Cox, and that's because they're cousins. So, two cousins now playing together here in Philadelphia, but Kenny Gainwell was one of my favorite players to study coming into this 2021 NFL draft, and excited to see him here in Philadelphia just to get a sense of this role. You mentioned the ability of the running backs, the durability for the running backs in this scheme, versatility, so important at that position as well.
Yeah, and Gainwell, as I talk to personnel people upstairs, they really want to get him involved in the pass game, in space, moving around the formation. A weapon, Fran, I'm trying to think, not Brian Westbrook, because Westbrook had more, kind of like durability, run the football. I'm not sure if I see Gainwell more as a third down back, as a change of pace running back, as a receiver. I mean, can he do all that?
Yeah, I mean, he was moved all around the formation. He ran routes like a wide receiver during his time in college. So he's got that level of versatility, and he was also a lead ball carrier. So he's got that versatility in his toolbox. But again, you come into a backfield where there are a number of bodies there, and certainly a guy like Miles Sanders is going to get the lion's share of the carries as well. So I'm excited for what he looks like year one, but then what does he look like year two, year three, year four? That will, to be determined.
Well, I mean, look, that's a fascinating picture at running back. Miles, Boston Scott, Jordan Howard in the best shape of his life. My sense with Jordan is he understands that if he's not going to make it now, he may not get another chance in the NFL. Kerryon Johnson has to be healthy following his down seasons with the Detroit Lions. Elijah Holyfield comes in. I thought he was really impressive last year in training camp. Did not make the 53-man roster. So, we look at this running back situation and go, it's pretty interesting. I think Howie Roseman, knowing him, he's always got his eyes open.
Yeah, and Adrian Killens as well, who's still on the roster, I believe. So you have
who I thought was going to be kind of like a Gainwell.
Yeah.
And last year got a little look here and there, but nothing really significant. So certainly the jury's still out on Killens.
No question. And so that, to me, like looking at this backfield, obviously a lot of factors in terms when you talk about who's in shape and who's healthy and things of that nature, but a wide variety of skill sets that, remember, we get preseason back. We got the preseason games now to be able to evaluate these guys. We did not have that a year ago, so I'm excited for that as well.
3 preseason games, 2 open practices at Lincoln Financial Field, August 8th and August 22nd, and then joint practices with New England and the New York Jets, and then that extra week built in between the final preseason game and the first regular season game. Fran, the whole cadence of the offseason has changed. It is cerebral in the spring. It is physical in the summer.
Yeah. And leading all the way up to a 17-game regular season. The Eagles have a late bye week this year, so it'll be a long stretch leading up to that. So everybody, you want to make sure that everybody's bodies are right.
And we did not mention Jason Huntley, who came in last year, a speedy running back. Hey, he gets a fresh start just like everybody else with this new Philadelphia Eagles coaching staff. We welcome you into our live coverage of the Eagles Training Camp 2021 at the NovaCare Complex. Presented by DraftKings. We're going to come your way as the Eagles get ready for that season opener in Atlanta. I'm Eagles insider Dave Spadaro, along with Fran Duffy, and we are going to have some fun here looking at the Eagles, learning along with you what this football team is all about. Lots of changes, and there's one of them. Now, the Eagles have not said, hey, you are the starting quarterback, Jalen Hurts, but, it's kind of one of those, every position is an open competition.
Yeah.
And I think, and you hear that from a lot of coaches. I really think in this case, Nick means it because he just hasn't seen the players in this scheme.
Yeah, and that's the important thing is it's genuine. It's real. This is not fabricated, and I think that that's going to be the case at every single position, like you said. But that's what makes it fun. And I talked earlier about the energy you feel in the building. I think that that's matched. You kind of see that. The players feel that. I'm excited just to see it play out on the practice field.
Joe Flacco, an interesting prospect here. Look, he's not a young guy. He's 14 years in the league, Super Bowl MVP. At one point, the highest-paid quarterback in the NFL. He's had some tough times, losing his starting job in Baltimore to Lamar Jackson. Goes to Denver, gets injured, the neck injury. Last year played with the Jets. Not super impressive statistically. The Eagles saying they liked what they saw from Flacco. So he said in the spring when he signed with the Eagles that he feels better now than he's felt in a long, long time. And he certainly adds the experience. He's got the big arm. And he is here, Fran, to compete for playing time, starting time at an open quarterback position.
Yeah, and Nick Mullins, a guy that has played a little bit in the league as well. So you've got two guys that have a wealth of experience in the NFL, and then Jalen Hurts, 4 starts under his belt from a year ago.
I remember last year before the game against the Niners, one of the coaches told me that Nick Mullins functions better in the Niners system than Jimmy G. And I believe that in every one of Mullins' starts, he's had more than 200 or more passing yards in each of his starts in the NFL. I think it's 19 starts in the NFL. So, look, third quarterback, third arm in the league, in that room. You sign him in late in the spring in June. I mean, that's a pretty good signing.
No doubt. I remember watching him at Southern Miss when he was coming out, and you just got a sense watching that this guy was going to be a really savvy NFL quarterback that would find a way to be able to stick. And he's a few years now into his career. I'm excited to see what he looks like in person every day.
All right, that will do it for today. Our first day of Nick Sirianni's Training Camp 2021 at the NovaCare Complex. We will be back tomorrow, so make sure you join us. I'm Eagles insider Dave Spadaro, along with Fran Duffy. And we thank you for joining us, everyone. Make sure you stick with us for our full coverage on our social media channels, PhiladelphiaEagles.com, as well as our official Eagles app. Have a great Eagles day, everyone, and fly, Eagles, fly.